Good morning, and wow, 70 chapters. Time is flying. Or maybe it's not. It isn't real, so. We find our group on the road to Briar, but a few tacklers, including Murdoch, are MIA. We've lost him. His sweet tooth has overpowered his brain. He's even managed to convert Orla and Metagross, and I also appreciate hitting Shuffle on the Volt Tacklers for these fun pairings. Baked candy, y'all. Invest now. Parallels between Molly and Nurse Joy confirmed when we come across the Kitakami brand of Joy. To me, she kinda looks like Nurse Joy if Nurse Joy ever decided to cut loose. Okay, maybe not that loose. Even Ludlow returns to drop some wisdom bombs on us, and with that, I think our reintroduction to the crew is complete. Speaking of drop-ins, we get one from Bombardier, and oof. Growing up, my dad always had this weird prejudice towards birds, and this episode kind of shows me why. This thing is a troll with wings. Now, Tinkatink's putting in some work, but is still growing into her strength. As we see her stumbling around, I gotta say, I really enjoy how it brings out Dot's soft side. It kind of reminds me of how Misty was a little rough around the edges, but was always sweet with Togepi. So as long as Tinkatink doesn't engulf Dot's entire character, we're in good shape. Roy and Crocodile provide the atmosphere as we continue the trek, and lots of fan-favorite Pokemon make some cameos. Such as this Chimecho, which gives me James vibes, and you know, maybe I'm just feeling nostalgic today. One basic thing about me is my love for the entire Pikachu line. All of them, there is not a miss, including Pichu. My favorite of them switches per week. And I'm sorry to say it, Cap, but this scene is littered with cute. It's just like Freed says, they can't resist the cute energy. While Smashy's hammering away, the Bombardier decides to have some fun with it. High comedy level this episode too, like the way the music Mickey Mouse is the sound of the drops. Realizing how to get an even bigger rise out of Tink, the bird covets the plate. I really feel for Dot too, having to manage such a high maintenance mon. These guys definitely aren't making it any easier, but they're bringing some welcome chaos. During all the commotion though, Tinkatink sneaks off. The group splits up to search for her, and I mentioned the comedy, which there is plenty of, like this timber moment, but there is actually a wide range of emotions this episode. Somehow, I hadn't realized how materialistic Tinkatink is. Myself, I try not to be, but I can appreciate the value of a special item. Bombardier, isn't that a mouthful, is still out being a menace, but that alerts Tinkatink to its location. A proven to be stealthy creature, Tinkatink makes its way into the bird's hoarder home. Gotta love Tink's little swan dive into the debris. After terrorizing a bit longer, the bird goes to defend its clutter. But we have Dot to defend Tink. I also appreciate how it's not necessarily a matter of who's right, because this is really Bombardier's turf and its junk that Tinkatink's in, but Dot just jumps in anyways to support Tinkatink in whatever her reckless endeavors are. Plate falling on Quaxwell gave me a belly laugh too. That stork dropped that plate like a baby. Nothing like some Pokemon brain rot humor. What took me by surprise was the bird terrestrializing on its own. That is news to me, but should definitely make the wild encounters more interesting, since now, even alone this aviator's putting up a good fight. Its bird buddy appears, and things fly even more south when Dot loses her Terra Orb. As for why Tink was so determined, well, she is a visionary. After all, this is the hammock that Dot gave to her, and really went out of her way for, so of course it's sentimental. It's also way too heavy. Surprisingly, like the emotion in this scene, the detail to the tears, the new music that screams perseverance like, I need to go stand for something. Contrast to Tinkatink, who is plummeting off of a cliff to rescue her friends. Just no reason for them to go as hard as they did. I'm emotional, Tink's emotional, so much so that she even evolves into Tinkatuff. Sometimes these thumbnails are hard because, you want to spoil a little. This is also neat to me too because this was sort of like Tinkatink's independent adventure. She went off of her own volition and it paid off. And although it pains me to say it, I think I still prefer Tinkatink's design. Maybe it's just the luscious locks on Tinkatuff make it a bit too humanoid for my personal taste. But we'll see what stage 3 holds. Anyways, they get to have a pretty expert tag team against the Bombardiers, and they fight the flock off. And when things are settled, we get to see Tink present the mic to Dot, which to me shows she plans to keep taking good care of it. She will also keep putting it to good use. So I did have a hunch going into this episode it would be an evolution one, which they tend to make special. Although I still underestimated how enjoyable this episode would be. I can't remember the last time this series gave me an erupting laugh. I guess you could say it hit the spot. I equate the energy feeling so good also to all the great soundtracks used in this episode, including remixes of old ones. What also stands out to me is Dot having to rely on Tink. I still see all around people talk about how the starters are hogging the spotlight. I can see that, so this feels to me like an acknowledgement of it. I'd also say usually if a starter evolves, it's for a reason. Tink's got brute strength, and now also emotional regulation. That's a dangerous combination. It also gets me more excited for Dot's battles than I have been in a while, so maybe it's generous, but I give this episode an A.